for me to reach if I could, and would it matter? No helicopter plane or some new infinity ladder.
My spirit's indestructible. Indestructible. I won't let nobody break me down.
So today we're gonna be talking about one of my favorite villains from the Five Nights at Freddy's series. One of my favorite villains is William Afton, also known as Springtrap. So William Afton is basically one of the co-owners of Fazbear Entertainment, right? Along with Henry. Eventually, William goes crazy. We don't know exactly what took place first, but if I would have to guess, William kills Henry's daughter first, Charlie. She becomes the puppet. William later kills the 5 children, stuffs their bodies into animatronics, and they come back to life. Yes, horrible thing that happened, and etc. Then we find out that after a while, William essentially gets spring-trapped. We find this out by FNAF 3, where he basically gets chased by the 5 spirits of the children after he dismantles the animatronics, and he basically gets back into his spring bonding costume, which has the spring locks inside, to try to scare the spirits of the little children. What happens is that it seems is that the water coming off the ceiling, because the place doesn't look like it's been built well, falls into his costume, activates the spring locks, and bam, he dies. 30 years later, he comes back as Springtrap in FNAF 3. Design-wise, I really love Springtrap because essentially it's the original spring bonding costume, but more deteriorated. The yellow golden color becomes a dark mossy green. It has rips and tears. You can see parts of the animatronics. You can see parts of its guts and etc. It just looks eerie and evil and demented, and I enjoy that because it's basically a hybrid between human and machine, human and animatronic. And essentially, I love that Scott did that with the design. The thing that I don't really like is the fact that basically Springtrap, or rather Springtrap design, in a sense of what Scott did with the human aspects of him, don't really mix that well. But that's because he basically doesn't know how to apparently model 3D humans. But other than that, I think if he would redo the design and add more elements of his humanity, like he did with the Springtrap animatronic, the design of Springtrap would be more eerie than it already is, and the design would fit better. But unfortunately, I don't know how to 3D model at all, so I can't do anything to bring it justice or whatever. But yeah. And essentially, what happens is his soul, after he died, fused together with the metal of the animatronic, and that's how he became Springtrap. After some time, Mike tries to burn the building. William has to essentially find other parts for his costume, and he becomes the shitty version known as Scraptrap. I wish they could fix that. Honestly, that design looks like shit. Anyway, but please let me tell you what my favorite parts of the design are. So I like the fact that you can see skeleton, right? You can see his skull. You can see, his teeth, as stupid and goofy as it looks, because again, Scott doesn't know how to modify, or rather, he doesn't know how to model human characters. There's like crushed bones, there's bones trapped, against metal. You can see some fingertips from his skull, you know, his skeleton. You could see his ribs, you can see bones on his shoulders, you can see, you know, skeleton parts on his legs, and etc. And it's basically like a fusion and a mixture of both human and machine, which again adds to the look of the character. I like that, you know, he has those sharp teeth in the bottom of the animatronic and etc. I wish his ears would have been bigger. They would have fixed certain things. I would love to see him basically redesign the character of Springtrap to make him look better. Because the design could work if it was better, but unfortunately, for a scrap character, which I understand that's what it's trying to be, it doesn't look that great. Because of the way the character is modeled. That happens. Eventually, you know, Mike burns the building down with the help of Henry again in a later game, and yeah, he basically dies again, and this time is stuck in limbo, which is basically where Custom Night takes place, because in Custom Night, essentially what's happening is you're playing as William stuck in limbo, getting tormented by hundreds of animatronics eventually. You know, dying, coming back to life, dying again, coming back to life, tortured, and etc. And then if you look at Security Breach, in one of its secret endings where you go down the secret elevator down by Roxy Raceway, right? You find out that Banny apparently was fixing up William Afton's body and brought the glitch trap into his body. Because if I explain that a little bit here, in Help Wanted 1, we find out that you play as Vanessa. William's consciousness somehow, or his remnant, was found in one of the ships that was scanned into the game. Therefore, he became a digital code known as Glitch Trap. Glitch Trap tried to take over Jeremy. Jeremy ended up killing himself, which we later find out is Cassie's dad. Then Vanessa takes it upon herself to test the game. The glitch trap goes into her mind and she becomes Vanny. So in Security Breach, she's Vanny. She's killing children for Remnant. And then what happens is that you find out when you go down the elevator that she recreated, or at least brought back, the parts of William Afton that she could find, and she basically used a modern version of the endoskeleton, mixed it together with upgrades and etc., plus William's skull, burnt head, and burnt shards parts of his Spring Bonnie costume, or Springtrap, and essentially that is what you see in the secret ending. And design-wise, it's one of my second favorites when it comes to Springtrap's designs, because it's essentially, you know, molten, you know, broken due to the fire, due to it breaking down. You know, he still has a skull, you can see his teeth, so it still has old parts of him, while the endoskeleton is new, and you can tell that it came from other parts of other different animatronics. So it has that old Springtrap eerie feeling while still having, you know, new endo and etc. And I think it brings much more, because you're kind of telling a story how his body was melted through the fires, you know, the scrap trap issue, and etc. And that's really good. But Springtrap will remain to be my favorite design for William Afton after he dies. Burn Trap will be my second. Scrap Trap, I don't like it very much, but it does have potential to be something better. The creators had to redesign all that. But yeah. And as fucked up a villain that he is, basically, I actually enjoy him as a villain. I would have loved to see more games with him and about him and etc. In no way, shape, or form do I think what he did was right. That's why he's a villain. But I think he's not a bad villain, and I think his design as Springtrap is very iconic. And it's one of my favorite aspects about the character, is that he's essentially Springtrap. And the character is so fucked up in the head that even eventually, when Michael burns up the place the second time, or probably the third or fourth, if we go by canon, with Henry, essentially you hear him say his first sorry ever, and it's kind of sad because, like, yeah, what he did is wrong as a villain, you know, doing that to all the, you know, killing all those children and people, but you can understand that he's a fucked up individual, you know, and when he's about to die for real as Springtrap, that's the first time you see any real emotion and any real regret coming from the character. Because once he dies, I think even as Springtrap, you can start seeing that bit of remorse. He basically was a troubled man who let his anger get the better of him. He lost his mind. The money and power made him worse. His problem made him worse, and etc. And yeah. And don't worry, I don't think what he did was right. I'm just trying to explain, like, the weird, complicated, convoluted, like, personality inside William Afton. And it kind of sucks, you know, that he went down that road. But again, fictional character. Yeah, but I really do like Springtrap as a villain. I think it's a little hard to figure out simply because, like, there's a lot of things that are hidden and etc. and you have to figure out yourself. Plus, not everything you figure out yourself is 100 correct, because we have to remember that in these games, most of these games are not story based. They're just, you have to mostly find the lore yourself. And yeah, so thanks again for being here. Just want to make this short video about why I like Springtrap. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, you know. Let me know basically what you guys think, what you agree with, what you disagree with. Share because it helps the channel. And I'll see you next time. Later.